Okay, so welcome back to all of you. Good afternoon to all. I hope the other three sessions were informative for you, and it was pleasure to have you all in these 2 days workshop, which was on National Workshop on Data Analysis and Statistical Computing through SPSS, which was organized by Council of Research and Sustainable Development India (CRSD). It was a 2 days workshop that is on 22nd and 23rd May. So today is the second day of the workshop in the last session. And today here we have our last speaker, the fourth speaker, Dr. Santosh Ganpati Patil. So he'll be delivering the lecture on multivariate analysis. So let me introduce uh, some points about Mr. Dr. Patil. So Dr. Santosh Patil is a native of Kolhapur district of Maharashtra and has completed BSc in Agriculture, MSc in Agricultural Statistics from UAS, GKVK, Bangalore, and PhD in Agricultural Statistics from BCKV, West Bengal. He received University Gold Medal for academic performance in MSc program. He was awarded with DST Inspire Fellowship for pursuing PhD. In 2014, he has awarded with GR Seth Memorial Young Scientist Award by the Indian Society of Agricultural Statistics. Presently, he is working as an assistant professor in Tamil Nadu Agricultural University since 2014. So let's welcome him. And so all of you, I hope you all get what you all wanted. And sir, over to you. Thank you all. I request Dr. Santosh to start his lecture.
Hello, Santosh sir, are you there?
Yes, ma'am, he's there. Sir, you are there in the meeting, no? You have to unmute yourself.
Ah. Ma'am, can you call Pradeep sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Patil is there. Hello.
Hello, you are able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, yes. Just sorry, I got stuck. My laptop got somewhat stuck. So,
So, okay, sir, you can start.
okay. Okay. So, thank you very much for my introduction, and also I thank you for the giving me opportunity to present my some views on multivariate data analysis. So, in this COVID situation, I would like to appreciate all the participants that they are joining and doing such type of learning activity, even though they are not in the college. So, with our session, let me share my screen. Is it visible?
No, sir,
No,
it is
sir.
not visible.
Okay. Second, sir. Now, sir.
No, sir. You are sharing your screen now?
Yes, madam. Present screen. Now?
No, sir. No, sir. Go to present and share your entire screen.
Yes.
But it is not coming.
Hello? Still it is not coming, madam?
Yes. No, no.
But it shows presenting.
Have you opened your PPT? First you open your PPT.
Yes,
then
madam.
go to entire screen.
Yes, I have done that same thing.
Yeah,
Still
it's
it is
coming,
visible or not
Yeah.
yet?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay. So, okay. So today we are going to see about what do we mean by multivariate analysis. And there are two types of multivariate analysis. So what is the difference between that? And particularly, we are going to talk about the principal component analysis, factor analysis, and if time permits, we will go for cluster analysis. So what is the difference between univariate statistics and the multivariate statistics? So in univariate statistic, we deals only with only one variable at a time. While in case of multivariate analysis, we deal with two or more than variables at a time. So that is the major difference between the multivariate and the univariate statistics. So in univariate statistic, we have a single series, we calculate the mean, variance, standard deviation, we have the probabilities for a particular variable. Now when we have two variables, we can go with individually as the univariate case, also jointly with the covariance analysis, or you can call as correlation analysis, and the next step is cause and effect that we call as regression analysis. Now when we consider more than two variables, so it is considered as the multivariate or multi-observation data, multi-dimensional observation data. So let x1, x2, p variables, xp be the random variables, and each variable have
Excuse
the
me, sir.
n number of observations. Yes, madam.
Screen is not coming. Screen is not visible, sir. Are you sharing?
Just a second. Yes, madam. I just share. Thing. Now it is visible.
No, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, it's
Still
coming.
it is not visible. Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. Visible.
So there are okay. So there are p variables. Each variable have n number of observations. So this is called as multivariate data. So in multivariate analysis, we are having two types. One is known as dependent analysis. Another is interdependent analysis. So in dependent analysis, you might have known the single that is what simple linear regression, in which we are having one y dependent variable and x are the independent variable. So similarly, we have the ANOVA term. Okay, that is a design we call experimental design. There also we have a similar type of model. So in this case, we are having the y as a one dependent variable, and there is a set of variables which consider as an independent variable which cause the effect on the y variable. So similarly, we are having the next as the interdependence analysis, in which we go for principal component analysis, factor analysis, and cluster analysis. So most of you might have known what the regression and the basic statistics. So I'm going forward with the limited approach known as principal component analysis, factor analysis, and cluster analysis. So what is the PCA? So it was given by the Carl Pearson, and it was later developed by the Hotelling. So what is the principal component? It is nothing but data reduction technique. So we call as data reduction technique, in which we transform the original variables into the so in which we transform the original set of variables into a fewer combination. So this fewer linear combination will give us different set of some scores, or you can say the different components. So this is nothing but principal components. So we are having p variables, each consist of n observation. So there are total np observations in the data set. Now the linear combination is nothing but like a linear regression. Okay, you have seen the linear regression y equal to a1 x1 plus a2 x2. Likewise, we have the one combination of the variables. Now in this case, this will be called as the first principal component analysis, and this a11, a12 are the coefficient, or you can call as weights, assigns to this variables. Similarly, for the second principal component, we have the different weights. Similarly, in general, for ith component, we have this type of weights, aij, and with respect to xij. Now, so how to calculate this aij's? So in the first principal component, we are finding this a1i, okay, such that it maximize the z function. It maximize the z function. So that is how we calculate this ai, and provided one condition that sum of square of each weights equal to 1. So similarly, we have to find out the second principal components, in which a to j are estimated such that it maximize the variance of z2, and again same condition, summation of a square to j equal to 1. Now when we impose this condition, there is an additional condition we have to check, that is the correlation between first component and the second component is 0, and the variance of z2 is lesser than variance of z1. Now similarly, we can find out the third component. It should be third component. So in this case, a3j has to be find out which maximize the function z3 and give the variance next to the variance of z2, and again same condition, sum of square of this ai square equal to 1, provided it has the 0 correlation with first component, second component, and third component. Then it should satisfy this condition, and provided we get this variance of z1 bigger than variance of z2 bigger than z. Likewise, we have to estimate this coefficient. So how to get these coefficients? Okay, so in regression analysis, you might have seen we have to minimize the error sum of square, and we find out the derivative, we get the coefficient. But in this case, we are not finding out in that way. So we are finding first variance covariance matrix of entire data set. That is, for few variables, we find out the variance covariance matrix, whereas the diagonal elements represent the variance, off diagonal elements represents the covariance between the particular xi and xj. Now this variance, you know, all you know how to calculate variance. It is 1 by n summation of xi1 minus xi, xj1 or j, you can say, minus xj bar. So if you take the ij, both are ii, it will become as the diagonal elements which represent the variance. Now, what to do with this variance covariance matrix? So this variance covariance matrix will be give us eigenvalues, okay, which give us eigenvalues. So how to find out the eigenvalue for any matrix? The matrix minus lambda I and take the determinant of that one, we get the equal to 0. If this condition satisfies, we get the eigenvalues, and for each eigenvalue we get the eigenvector. So this eigenvector also have this condition summation of lambda I, the particular lambda I into identity matrix, it multiply with that vector which gives the 0. So this A is nothing but your eigenvector, and these eigenvectors are nothing but our Aij coefficients. These eigenvectors are nothing but our Aij coefficients. So that we call as loadings, or we can call as weights. Now how to get the variance of the particular ith component or Zi principal component? So we got these eigenvalues, and it has the one condition, or you can say the one property, in which these eigenvalues are also in sequential order, okay, and all the eigenvalues are non-negative. We call as non-negative. Non-negative, in that case, it may be 0 or more than 0. So if we add these eigenvalues, okay, it will be the same as the variance in the matrix, the diagonal elements of the variance covariance matrix. If we add the diagonal elements of that variance covariance matrix, which is equal to the sum of these eigenvalues. Now we got the total variance, which is equal to summation of lambda I, and the particular Zi component which gives the variance, that is variance of Zi equal to the individual eigenvalue divided by total of eigenvalues. So generally it is seen that whenever we calculate the eigenvalues for the variance covariance matrix of P by P order, we get the lambda p's, okay, and if we add this lambda p, which is almost equal to 1, which is almost equal to, we are having the p, okay. So that structure we have to use for the further, when I come for the SPSS output, I will tell you. So we said that it is a data reduction technique, okay. So in data reduction technique, what is the meaning of this dimension, reduction in the dimension? Now we know that XY axis two-dimensional diagram, we can represent the particular point. Similarly, it is also visible or visualized in the terms of the 3D diagram for the three-dimensional structure. So the particular point is nothing but 2, 3, 5. That means it has the value on particular axis 2, it has the value on particular axis 3 and 5, or it has the particular value on this axis. So you can see that this value represents the 3 dimension, okay. Now how it is representing, or how it is reducing the dimension? Now see, when we plot a straight line, or you can call as a linear regression line, okay, based on this Aij values, okay, the second component which we estimated, it will be the perpendicular to this axis, okay. If you know the little bit regression theory, if regression coefficients, both the regression coefficient multiply, and which gives the equal to 0. So that will be the, you can say the orthogonal, you can see this orthogonal nature. If you multiply these two coefficients, it will give us 0 as a value. Now this is what our technique. So this point is represented by 3 values, these particular points, but we are making this in now 2-dimensional. We are making 2 axes. So this is known as 2-dimensional. So that is what you can see now in the little, you can say the little bit turned, rotated. So which gives this diagram is for 2-dimensional now. Now 3-dimensional reduced to 2-dimensional diagram. So similarly, we can go for other type of rotation. So further we'll see what are the options in the rotation. So this particular is known as orthogonal rotation. Orthogonal rotation in the sense this angle between these 2 lines is equal to 90 degree. So it is orthogonal rotation, or you can say the orthogonal coefficients. Now how many principal components are formed? So there are p variables, is it not? For p variables we get the p eigenvalue. Each eigenvalue have different coefficients, or you can call as eigenvectors or weight. So that means we get the p eigenvalues. We get p eigenvalues. In these p eigenvalues, there may be some eigenvalues which are equal to 0, which may also equal to 0. So whenever the particular software give the output, it may automatically delete some of the eigenvalues or the principal components because the eigenvalue is 0. Now how many principal components to be selected? So what we have done, we have reduced the 3-dimensional diagram to the 2-dimensional. That means we have reduced x1, x2, x3 to z1 and z2. Now there are p variables, there will be the zp components. So both are almost equal, but how many to be selected? So there are 2 criteria. One is known as the eigenvalue, another is known as cumulative variance. So in eigenvalue, the eigenvalue which is more than or equal to 1 is considered for our selection procedure. Or you don't want to consider this eigenvalue criteria, you just go for cumulative variance. So you want how much variance to be explained by this data. So these 4 components explain 85% of variation. So you can take that 4 components. Then don't see at the eigenvalues. Now let us take an example. So this example is from one of the restaurant and it has the 10 variables. So let me show you. Hope it is visible. Yes, it is visible. The SPSS screen is visible.
Yes.
Please, anyone?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
So, okay. So in this SPSS, what you can say the frame, we have the top upper row which shows the different options such as file, edit, data, transfer, and analysis. So we have to use this analyze. So in there, we got the different options. So at for a particular analysis, we require the data reduction technique we call as principal component analysis. So in SPSS, it gives only the factor analysis. So principal component analysis and the factor analysis is almost similar type of the estimation procedure, but interpretation is different. So just I will show you how to do this. So data reduction, then go to factor. So there will be the list of variables on the left side, and the variable which we want to use for the analysis has to be entered into this box. So we have to select the X12. So this is a book example. Okay. So X12 to X21. Okay. So there are 10 variables I have selected. After selecting these variables, there are different options on the right side. One is descriptive. You want any descriptive, you see enumerate descriptive. That means each variable, 10 variables, you will get mean, mode, whatever the outputs are given by SPSS in the descriptive statistics, it will be presented. Now here we required is the correlation matrix, and we require this KMO and the Bartlett test of sphericity. Okay, so just I will tell you how to do this, then I will interpret one by one. After this, we have to go to extraction method. So this is what the next term. In the extraction method, there are different methods. There are different methods. So at present, we require principal components. So we go for only principal components. And this principal component is calculated based on the correlation matrix. Based on the correlation matrix. Okay. So if you see the variance covariance matrix, what was the variance covariance matrix? The diagonal elements are the variance, off diagonal elements are the covariance. And what is the correlation matrix? Correlation matrix, diagonal elements is 1, off diagonal elements is correlation between the xi and xj. Now, when we do the principal component analysis, we do the first, if we do manually, first step is to transform the data into standardized form. Okay, we standardized form. That means we transform to the Z score. In another language, we transform to the Z score. Why we do this? Because each variable have their units, and it will affect some person may have taken in the grams, some person may have taken in the kg. So instead of doing this, we take the standardized score. Okay, and when we do the standardized score and we calculate the covariance matrix of the standardized score, it gives us correlation matrix. So ultimately here what happened? It directly taking as a correlation matrix as an option. So we can use this one. Now see here. So there is a display is there. Unrotated factors means without any rotation, this one solution will be there. And this is a scree plot. It's a scree plot. So what is this scree plot? I will tell after the when output comes. And extract how many eigenvalues you want. So I want eigenvalues, how many components you want to extract, selected. So eigenvalues more than one, I have to select it. So you can select here as 1. Or alternatively, you can select here itself. Instead of 10 variables, I want 3 components. I don't want to see the eigenvalues. I want 3 components. So I will write 3. So at present, we are going with eigenvalue over the 1. Now there is a rotation method. So you see there are different methods are there. So at present you can put none or you can put Varimax. Okay, mostly it is used, widely used the Varimax. Okay, it is taking the consideration of the variance. So after that there is a display of the rotation solution and the loading plots. Okay, so these are the important things you have to remember. Next is scores. Now I want to use this principal component for further analysis. Okay, or some other analysis I want to use. So I have to save this score got from the principal component analysis. So save variable as the regression method. What is meant by regression method? In regression we calculate y equal to a1 x1 plus a2 x2. We multiply a1 to x1, a2 to x2, and we calculate the estimated y hat or y hat values, predicted values. So similar way, we calculate this type of prediction based on the eigenvectors, and we save as the scores. And then okay. Now we got the output. So there is one thing, whenever we do any analysis, here first it will come as a script. You want to change something or you go for a little bit advanced, you have to use this script. Okay, so directly you will get script, just you have to modify a little bit and you will get the different type of analysis. Let it be load. So this is how what we have done: data reduction, factor, select the variables, go to descriptive statistics, then select the coefficient KMO, then select the principal component extraction method using the correlation, eigenvalues, and last one is which type of rotation you want. At the end, save the scores. Let us see whether it came. Okay, I have already done this analysis and saved the output. So we'll check. Okay, so this is the first output we got as a correlation matrix. So you can use it for whatever the interpretation for the correlation analysis. The second one, we got this one simple small table which shows the KMO and Bartlett test. And what it says, this value is 0.562. It ranges from 0 to 1. It ranges from 0 to 1. When it is approached to 1, it will be say as this is a good. That means whatever the sample we take, or the number of the observations, or the number of sample points we take, it is adequate. So that is what it says. So generally it should be more than 0.5. Some people are saying it is 0.6. So according to your, if it is near to 1, it is almost good, whatever your data set it is there. The second one, it is known as the Bartlett test, which is used for the whether there is exists a correlation between the variables or not. Okay, so here significance value, there is SIG is shows the p value. Okay, it is a p value. So most of the time the software shows the significant value as p value. And one of the drawback of these spaces, you can say that it is not giving the, so it is, you can see here there are only 3 values are there, 3 dot, after dot there are only 3 points are there. So it only shows the only this type of nature. It is not showing the scientific. Okay, it should be shown in the scientific, then people can understand. So it is not exactly 0. It is not exactly 0. Okay, whenever the such type of output comes, you can write less than 0.001. That means the result we got, it is significant. If the p value is less than 0.5, it is significant at 5%. If it is less than 0.01, then it is significant at 1%. So what is the significance? So we have the hypothesis, that is null hypothesis. There exists a there is a no correlation, and alternative hypothesis, there is exist correlation between them. Now when we have this p value, we reject H0. When it is less than 0.05, we reject H0. That means there is no correlation. This statement we are rejecting. That means there exists a correlation. So that is the ultimate, what is the meaning of such type of p value. So it shows the significant value. That means there is exist of correlation. Next table we got as a cumulativity. So we will see in the factor analysis. In the principal and component analysis, cumulativity will not be presented in your research articles or in your things. We will not represent the cumulativity. So when we do factor analysis, this is very much important. Now this is come the eigenvalues, percentage of variation, and the cumulative percentage of variation. The eigenvalue, if you make the total, it is almost 10. Okay, because we use the correlation matrix. We use the correlation matrix. The sum of eigenvalue is equal to number of components. So it is almost 10. Okay, because of fraction, it shows 10.001. Now, how to calculate the variance? So first thing is how many components to be selected. The components which are having the eigenvalue more than 1 are selected. That means we are selecting 1, 2, 3, 4 components we are selecting. Now, how to get this variance? You can see here 3.05 divided by total of eigenvalues, that is 10 into 100. Okay. There are only 10 values are there. So only it shows 10. If there are 20 values, it will be some other different thing. Okay. So the particular eigenvalue divided by sum of eigenvalues, we get us this variance of Z1. That means 30% of variation in whole data set. Okay, the whole data set, the 30% of variation is explained by the first component. Second component, 25%. Third component, 16%. And in the cumulative, if I consider 2 components, then it consists of 55%. If I want to take another component, it will explain 71% of variation in the whole data set. So if you want to go for 90% of variation, then I have to select up to 5, or you can say the 6 components. Now next thing is scree plot. Okay, so some softwares will give you the scree plots in which on x-axis you have the number of components, on y-axis we have the eigenvalues. The eigenvalues are plotted here: 3.05, 2.5, okay, 1.6. So this is a scree plot, called as scree plot. Now there is one method known as elbow method. Elbow means like this bend will come. Okay. So in SPSS output, this type of diagram will not come. So you have to edit little bit. Let us check whether this process. So like this, you have to double click on that particular diagram. I think there are many tabs are open, so it may be a loading problem. Okay, so like this one diagram will be visible. Now you see in my presentation, I have put one line for this. So how to do this, or how to make little bit, you can say the modification in this. You can just copy and paste as it is if you don't want to change anything. Or second thing, you just click on the point you want to change. I want to change the background. So click on the background, you'll get like this. So which type of background you want, you can put as that type of background. Now I want to change this dots. You want as the plus sign, you want as the triangle shape, you want some other type. You can have the different types of symbols you can represent. So you want to change that, I will put as now red, and you want to fill it. So by some color you can fill it. You can see this. Next one, I want to draw a line for here. Okay, so sometimes you just click on this. So it is a single digit numbers. So it is directly printed as a single digit number. So there will be some eigenvalues which have 4 or 5 digits after the point. So you have to click on this. Okay, then again one tab came. You can see this is selected. Here number format will be there. Here decimal place 2. You can put as 2 decimal. Variables, whatever the variables on y and x axis. Text style. Some of the softwares or some of the research journals required even your picture or your diagram in the Arial font. So you can see this sans serif. I don't want this, so you can change as a Arial font. So you can change as Arial one. Okay, the particular size you want, text size, you can get it. Okay. Now see here, now digits are changed. I want line for 1. So I have to right click on this one. or any values, then here you see this is the y-axis. So you have to add the reference line. You have to add the reference line. So you see it is position, it is shown. So you have to change the position as a 1. Okay, lines. You want dotted line, you can make it a dotted line. You want the little bit bigger, smaller, how much you want, you can put that one. Color also you can put. Apply. Even you can change this. Labels also here, principal components. Like that you can write. You can remove this if you want. So likewise, you have to do little modification. Then you can take it for your presentation. Now next is, this is how we have to get it. First click on that diagram, wherever the portion, change the particular things you want. Now next thing is, we got the, after this scree plot, a component matrix. So this component matrix are nothing but your, what we got from the eigenvectors. Okay, but so because of the rotation method, it have the different values. So this, sometimes it is not said as the eigenvector. So what is the use of this component matrix? We can say that is, this component matrix will represent the correlation of individual variable to the components. Okay, the square of each loading represents the proportion of variance. That is, this R is R. We make R square. It represents the coefficient of determination that explain the variation in the component. Now you see here, that means 43.61% of its variance is explained by the first component. Okay, likewise, second component explains 23% of variation in the x12 for the particular variable, not the entire data, for the particular variables. So you can see here also how much variation is explained by the components to the individual variables also. Now see what is this square of. If you make the square of each component values, under one component values, we get 3.05, which is our eigenvalue, which is eigenvalue. Or if you make square of this, we get the second eigenvalue. If you make square of this and add it, we get the third eigenvalue. So these are reverse way you can say in the how to get the eigenvalues from the component matrix. Now suppose I want the eigenvectors. So what I have to do is, I have to get the component loading divided by square root of eigenvalue. So this is what the 0.661 divided by total of this, that is square root of 3.05, we get the particular eigenvectors. Okay, so these are actually we required. First, basically theoretically we calculate the eigenvector, then we go for this rotation and other things, so which we required for the diagrammatic representation. How to calculate this biplot? Okay, so sometimes in SPSS this diagram will be automatically arises. Okay, so let us check. So this is actually now 3D diagram. It is not the 2D diagram. Okay, it is a 3D diagram. So we can take that score values and we can plot onto X and Y axis. Okay. So how to do that one? So this is not required actually. We require only two components. Most of the papers will say PC1 versus PC2. Only few papers will be showing this type of diagram. So what you have to do is do the same analysis, only you have to do thing is extract the components as the 2. So this will not be have 3-dimensional, it will be showing the 2-dimensional diagram. Okay, then once you got this diagram, you can double click on that and you can edit the particular things. Okay, let's check it is coming or not. So here I am putting as 2 factors to get the biplot. Okay, to get only biplot, I am doing only 2 factors. Otherwise, no need of doing this. Okay, you can get this component diagram like this. Already this axis is printed. You can write here PC1, PC2. Only thing, how to get this type of lines. Okay, so if you see this, these are nothing but got the values from the component matrix. Okay, so you can see here 0.661 or x20 is 0.548. So you can check x20 is here 0.548. So almost here. Okay, I think it is based on the rotation matrix. It is taken here. Okay, now how to get that lines? You just double click on that point. Here one, in the previous diagram it was not like this. So here one spikes are coming. So you can click on spikes. You want origin or you want from centroid. Origin means it will take origin of this data set, not this origin. So you have to use centroid. Sorry, origin. Okay, you have to use origin, not the centroid. Centroid means it will be formed the groups and you will get the one particular midpoint. So likewise, you can take that and you can use for your paper presentation. Now similarly, how to get this score plot? This will be not printed in your SPSS. This will be not printed in your SPSS. So what we have to do this? We have done one option, that is save this factor score as a data values that we represent by method of regression. Okay, so this will be saved in the column of data. Okay, you can check your untitled data file. Okay, you can see here at the end it comes 2 times because I have run 2 times. We have this 2 times for second and first 4 components are selected. Okay, now if I want this particular this 2, how I can plot this type of diagram? So what you have to do is you have to go to graphs. Then some people will go for chart builder. Don't go for chart builder. You have to go for legacy dialog. In that we get the scatter plot. Now in this you go for simple scatter plot. Now here it is y-axis. What is on y-axis? Is C1. So regression REGF factor score for 1. Similarly, REGF for second factor. Then sometimes we gave the labels like YT name or some other person's name or the particular districts. You can put this one as in your labels. So it will be also printed the labels. Okay, so I am not taking now option. you want to change something or you want to get the title, you can go for this type of. Okay, display the group, missing values and other things. If you want, you can go for it. What happened in this plot, you will not get this axis. So what you have to do, you have to right click on this and get the reference line, put as the 0. Here also same way you can do the thing.
Hello, sir. Unmute yourself, sir. Sorry for inconvenience. Actually, there is some technical issue with Patel sir. I think he is left now. There is an announcement. We will share a link for certificate. Please fill this Google form within half an hour so that we can prepare your certificate as early as possible.
Hello, now you are able to hear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello, you are able to hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello, you are able to hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible, but I think
Madam?
yes, sir. There is mic issue.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can
Okay.
hear you.
So what is the major difference in the factoran and principal component analysis is that when we consider principal component analysis, we are using the linear combination of variables. So this is a linear combination of variable. While in case of factor analysis is a reverse. We are only seeing the variable in terms of the factors. So what is the importance of this factor to this particular or whatever the variable is loaded with the particular factors. So that we explain by the factor analysis. So in the principal component analysis, we say that this much percentage of variation is explained by first component, second component. While in case of factor analysis, we are saying like that. We are saying this many component shows the cumulativity. Now this point comes as cumulativity. That is a percentage of variation in a particular variable x1 12 to variable. So that is what the difference between factor and principal component. So there are different types of rotation, orthogonal and oblique rotation. Just now we saw the orthogonal rotation. It is having the variance, or we can say the varimax type of rotation. So these are just knowing as the rotation. So the choice of the rotation is up to you. What type of you want the outcome, whether it is you want the variance term to be considered, or only you have to just only axis orthogonal action you have to do. Oblique rotation, you will not get the zero correlation between the components. Only in orthogonal rotation we get the zero correlation between the components. So that means if you want to transfer your original data set, that is a correlated data set, to the uncorrelated, you have to go for orthogonal type of rotation. If you want to just go for just rotation and you should have some correlation, then you have to go for oblique correlation. So this is what just we have shown. So there are three axes. So it will form the three components, which each component is perpendicular each axis, and this is what we got the particular principal component axis. So what is the particular thing? Just now we saw that square of each loading component. That is, if you make the square of each these components, it will give us cumulativity. Okay, for this second component also we get the cumulativity. Okay, I think it is a little bit wrong. I have to edit the 0.198, 716, 140 and 487. If you make this, we get this 808. So this is what the cumulativity. That means these four components explain the 89% of variation in X12. These four components explain 89% of variation is X12. The remaining, the variation is the in error term. So that is what the most of the time we write. Just now I wrote X1 or Y1 equal to particular coefficient into F plus U. That is the error term. That is nothing but the other than the percentage of variation, that is 1 minus cumulativity. So you can see this. Now just I have written as F1, F2, F3, F4. Now this is the rotated component matrix. Okay, there are two types of matrix will come. Okay, just component matrix and rotated component matrix. We have to use rotated component matrix because our biplot is also for rotated component axis. Okay, now if you see this clearly, the first component, in first component there are three variables. There are three variables which are contributing more. So in this case, do not consider sign. Without sign, there is absolute value you have to take, because these are nothing but the based on the eigenvector. So if you got the eigenvector 1 and minus 2, there is a imaginary, or you can say the symmetric way, we get minus 1 and 2. So both are also orthogonal. Okay, so some softwares may give here minus 0.923, some software give plus 0.923. So both are just, it is rotating the different axis. It is going into negative side of axis, but rotation has done the similar way. Okay, these are just only the eigenvectors. So in this component, the first component is majorly contributed by these three variables. In the second component, by another three variables known as fresh food, excellent food taste, and the proper food temperature. The next one we got as large size of proportion and the reasonable price. Suppose you want the burger or some other pizza type. So if you are getting bigger size, you will prefer for that shop. Okay, if environment is clean in that place, you will prefer for that. So there is one factor, fun place to eat, and the attractive interior. Okay, so cleanness also matters when we are going for any restaurant data. So this analysis is based on the ordinal type of data, not the actual metric units. Okay, so what it says, the first principal components or the first factor represents the service quality, how they are serving. The second factor shows the food quality. Third one, pricing nature, whether it is affordable or not, we can go for that or not. If we give some money, we are getting little amount or bigger type of portion of the food. So this is what the pricing nature. Next, environment, whether if you go with children, they want to sit there, play something. So that is also one of the factor. So you can see that these variables will form a group of nature that we call as service quality. So we can divide this particular variables, which variable is for which one. So in biological experiments, we are having the biological character, physiological character, yielding character. Okay, in the soil or the water, we are having the different biochemical or chemical type of different components will be there. So which can be separated or distinguished by using these principal components, or you can say the factor analysis also. Okay, now you want to say that you are not interested with the price and the environment, just you require the food quality and the service quality. Then you can go for only first two components. So you can, that way also you can take the different components. Now see how it is represented. This is what the factor analysis is represented. Y or X112 is represented as the combination of the factors. So these combinations we give the proportion of variation 89%. Remaining is other factors are explaining. Okay. So next is cluster analysis. So what do we do in cluster analysis? In the previous case, we are identified the fewer set of variables or important variables. Okay. So instead of 35 variables, we take only 5 variables or 7 variables for further analysis. Okay. So how to get that important variables based on this factor analysis, or you can get from principal component analysis. So in cluster analysis, what we do in cluster analysis, it is nothing but grouping of the objects based on the some similarities. So how we know that whether it is similar or not? Okay, if you see this data, just now we saw the data which shows up like this, some scales. So if we have 20 variables, how we can know whether these are similar or not? So here it is similar, but here it is different. So how to do this? So in cluster analysis, will do this based on the distance between the objects. So what are the distance matrix, or you can say the similarity matrix? Some are saying it is dissimilarity matrix. Almost both are similar way. So there are different units or different measures are there, such as for interval data, when you are using the metric units, kg, gram, like that, you are using the scale and such type of data you are using, then you are going for interval data. In that case, we are having different distance method: Euclidean distance, Chebyshev, Manhattan, also known as block distance, cosine distance, Minkowski distance, and Mahalanobis distance. So the cluster analysis uses this distance to carry out the particular further cluster. If your data is count data, that means 0, 1. In that case, we are not supposed to use such type of distance. We are going for chi-square measure or phi-square measure. If it is binary data, 0 and 1, count data means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, binary data means 0 and 1. So there are different methods or distance are used in this. So Jacquard is almost, you can see in some papers, they are using this Jacquard distance. Okay, so these are the 3 different types of data, and we can use different type of measures. So I'm going for interval data now. One example. What is the Euclidean distance? Euclidean distance is nothing but, so this is x1 and yj. That means I am taking the 1 minus 2, that is first object minus second object in the particular variable. Okay, in the particular variable x12, I am subtracting first object minus second object and making square it. First object minus third object, making square it. Okay, so I can get the such type of distance. Similarly, which is the maximum value in that distance? I got first minus second, first minus third, first minus fourth, in which is the maximum that I can write as a distance for particular point. Then Manhattan, similar, but it is summation of the absolute values. This is like correlation. Cosine is nothing but for like correlation. Minkowski, it is generalized form of Euclidean system, where we are getting the square root and where we are mth root. Okay. Next is Mahalanobis distance. If you want to get the Mahalanobis distance, you have to do separately from the in Excel or using the SPSS. You cannot have the option Mahalanobis distance in the SPSS. What are the cluster procedure? We got the distance. Okay, we have the distance, but how to do the cluster? So there are 2 types of clustering methods. One is hierarchical clustering and non-hierarchical clustering. Non-hierarchical clustering is nothing but partitioning method. Okay, just we are partitioning data, that is K-means cluster. This comes under K-means cluster. Okay, and hierarchical cluster, there are 2 types, agglomerative and divisive. In agglomerative, there are different methods to join this cluster. There is a linkage method, variance method, centroid method. Under linkage method, there are 3 different methods. That is single, complete, average. So we'll see in one example, then you will get the idea. So non-hierarchical clustering, that is we call as partitioning method, or you can say as the K-means cluster. So in this you can see the whole data set. Okay, so there are some points. If you go back again, see. So you see here. So first divided into 3, and it is going and going. That means it find the centroid of particular group, get the another iteration, again iteration. Okay, so it is just changing one by one. So you can see here, just you get the 3 initial points as the mean values, divide this data. Okay, now you do this mean for this, mean for this, mean for this, then check whether it is coming in that group or not. So it came here. Now again, this point is actually red. It should be in this cluster. If you see in the here, it was in this part, but this is very close to this part. So it is going to this cluster. And again, it is having this cluster. This green also come into this cluster. So likewise, it formed the iteration. Okay. So there are different steps you have to perform and get the final solution for the particular number of cluster. Now, what is the agglomerative and divisive method? So here in this method, we first join the nearest, which is having less distance between the objects. Then go for next stage. Then go for next stage. That means you can see here like a tree. What is in divisive? It is a reverse process. That means first cluster, then you divide into 2 clusters, then you divide into 3 clusters, and further division. Okay, here it is 1 cluster to the different cluster. Here it is what? Small clusters, that is all clustered to the single cluster. So it is a reverse procedure. So in a practice, we are only following this agglomerative, not the divisive method. Okay, because it is very easy to understand. It is just joining one by one. What is the difference between these 2 clustering methods? In hierarchical clustering, you should not know what is the number of cluster initially, but you should know number of initial cluster in the k-means cluster, or you can say the non-hierarchical clustering, which is faster than the hierarchical clustering. Yeah, because it is just taking only iteration, it gives the more reliable than the hierarchical clustering. But you should have the knowledge. This is one disadvantage. You should have the knowledge of the how many clusters to be formed. Second, you should know which are the first initial points. So that is the major drawback of this k-means cluster. If you know this from the previous data, you can go for non-hierarchical clustering. So what is the different linkage methods? Just now I show that is single linkage, complete linkage, average linkage, centroid method, word method. The single linkage is nothing but we take the minimum distance between these points. So first we make this cluster because they are having less distance. Next, take the another cluster point. So this with this, this with this, this with this. Which is the minimum value? This one. So take that point as a distance. While it is complete, take the longer. In the average, you take this distance from this point to this point to this point to this point to this. Make the average of these points. That is the distance between this cluster to this cluster. While in centroid, take the mean of this, that is the distance between 2 clusters. So these are the required for each step to join. So here we are joining the 1 by 1 clusters. So in this case, we have to make this one with this, C with D, take the minimum in the single linkage method. In average, this with this, and C with D, C with E, take the average of that one, and then you join this one. That is the difference. So how the clusters are formed? You can see here, there are 2 variables, A and B. We are having the different values. How to get the Euclidean? So S1 and S2, the first sample and second sample. So what we have to make? 6 minus 5, or you can make 5 minus 6, that doesn't matter. Then 6 minus 5, square it. So we get the distance. So likewise we have to do for all these things, we get the distance matrix, or we call as similarity matrix. Of course, diagonal elements will be 0, and it is a symmetrical matrix. That means lower part is similar with the upper part. Now, which to be formed? Which is having the lowest value, that to be formed as the first cluster. Now you can see in this data set, there are 2 points which are shows the minimum value, minimum distance between the objects. So I have to join S1 and S2, S3 and S4. Okay. So first stage we are joining S1 and S2, S3 and S4. Now how to calculate this cluster with the S3, this cluster with S4, or this cluster with S5, this cluster with S6. So we required next matrix, similar matrix to join the next stage. So in that case, we can see here 1 with 3, okay, 1 with 4, 2 with 3, 2 with 4. So I can get the 4 values, so I get the average. So this is the average method. So I get the 13.4536. The 4 is there, and this distance is nothing but here. Okay, here 4 is there, it is missed. Okay. Similar way, I want to take the distance with S1, S2 with 5. How this 24 is calculated? Now you can see here 1 with 5, 2 with 5. Okay, 1 with 5, 2 with 5. So we get the two values, we get the average of that, that is 24.30. So that we got here. So again we form another distance matrix. So in this distance matrix, which is the lowest value? 5.09, and which represents for S5 and S6. That means at the next stage, I have to join S5 and S6. So I have joined S1, S2 and S3, S4 at the first stage. Second stage, I join S5 and S6 based on the average method. Now, I have done again same thing, distance with the different, again small cluster. What is the lower distance? 13.08. That means I will join this cluster with the third and fourth. So you can see here, this is how cluster forms. First cluster, first stage, you can see here 1 and 2, 3 and 4 join at the same line. The distance is 1.4. This is the distance. Next one, for the second stage, it is 5.09, which join 5 and 6. Object number 5 and 6 are joined. Similarly, I have to go for next stage. I have joined this cluster 3, 4 and the 5, 6. And at the last end, we got the S1, S2 and the last. So this is what how to form the dendrogram. Okay. So the same thing, we are using the same data set, but here only we are using only two variables. Okay, X23 and X24. So in this case, how to go classify? So there are different objects are there. Two cluster method. Here you have to go for classification, classify, two stage, k-means or hierarchical. Go for hierarchical clustering. Then you have to use the which variable to be, based on which variable you have to classify the labels. Okay, you can see it is not coming, string variable. So next is, I have to, case means objects or you can say the rows. Variables are nothing but your columns. Whatever is in columns, x1, x2, these are in your columns. What is in your row? The ID, particular ID of the persons or the survey number or object number. So based on this, you have to check what you have to classify, whether you have to classify the objects or the variable. Next one, you want the plots. That is what the dendrogram you want. If you uncheck this one, it will not operate here. If you want the plots, it will show here dendrogram. That is what we require, the dendrogram. So vertical and horizontal, you want in the which side of orientation, you can use that one. You want to save this particular solution also, cluster membership also you can show. Okay, that means I want the first cluster and the second cluster to be like the previous course where I have saved, same way you can save. Then okay. Once you got this, we get this type of output. Okay. Classify, hierarchical clustering, insert the variables, select the which method, dendrogram, and the which method is extraction. Okay. Just now I have to show. method. We can see here there are different methods: between group, within group, nearest neighbor. Nearest neighbor is nothing but your single linkage. Furthest neighbor, that is complete linkage. Centroid, that is what we saw, the first one and second one middle point. Median cluster, and the word method. Word method is based on the variance, okay, not the individual average values or the minimum distance. So when we have interval data, we can have the different distance: Euclidean, square Euclidean, cosine, Pearson, okay, correlation also you can use. If you are using the PCA and cluster analysis, go for Pearson correlation, okay. Next, if you have the count data, you can go for another measures. Now, what happened in the SPSS? We get the output only in the two forms. One is average linkage, that is between group, like the schedule how it is joining. Cluster 1, that is in cluster 1, 384 and 405. Likewise, it is joining one by one. So we have to see this column coefficient. This will help us to know how many cluster to be formed, how many cluster to be selected. So you want 3 cluster, 4 cluster, you can take that one. So you can see this coefficient and observe that there will be sudden jump in the coefficient. There is a huge data, so it is showing 0. If you have small data, it will show the okay. Now you see here, if you are seeing these values, started from 0 to 1, then 1 to 0.47, 1.11, 1.34, 1.7. Now this point, 1.34, 30 and 1.7, there is a large jump, or you can see here, it is 4. Okay. So if I see this, there is a large jump from 1.8 to 3.5 also. So I can monitor that, that is the observation required is 402. That means these are the different stages. You see stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Okay. In that case, at the 402 stage, I have the jump in the coefficient. So how to select the numbers? Number of cases, that is the number of rows, 405. How many coefficient? There is change in the coefficient we got at 402 stage. So subtract it, we get the number of clusters. So this is one of the acceptable method by the SPSS, how to select the number of clusters. If you want to do some other criteria, so there will be some other softwares you can use. Different methods are there how to select the number of optimum clusters and other things. So you can see the 3 clusters. Now see, this is actually, this cluster diagram is bigger. You can see here. So I cannot show you this place. So I took one small example. Okay, so I want 2 clusters. So what I have to do is, I just take this line to you can take this scale and divide into 2 clusters. I want 2 clusters means this is one group, this is another group. I want 3 clusters. Come further, 1, 2, 3. So I can get the 3 cluster, 1, second cluster as a 2 alone, and the third cluster. I want another, so I can go down. Likewise, you can, how many clusters you can decide, or you can put it into your research article. Now, next important thing is, most of the research papers or the researcher are using principal component analysis and the cluster both at a time. So see, the role of PCA is what? To form the smaller set of variables, which is having the linear combination of original variable. What is in the cluster analysis? We use the cluster analysis to group the particular objects. Okay, there is a classification. This is the data reduction technique. How we can do, or how you can use both the results. So in PCA, we got the biplot. If you remember biplot, okay. So in that we make the score values and we plot PC1 and PC2, and we have the objects. So in these 4 quarters, okay, and or you can see the factor analysis. In the factor analysis, if your variables are also here, you can say this part is for food service, okay, environment, okay, nature of the staff. Likewise, we have the different quadrants also. Now, how we can use the clusters? So in this cluster analysis, we have to form the group. That is the last variable as a group membership. Okay, perform the PCA, save the score in the SPSS, plot PC1 versus PC2, then run the cluster analysis. How many clusters you want? You see how many clusters you want. Save that cluster members in the one column and use that as a ID, so that you can color this group, or you can draw the separately circle on this. So this is how we can do the cluster analysis and the PCA. So this is what I want to tell you about the principal component analysis, factor analysis, and the cluster analysis. If you have any doubt, please, you can ask some doubts. I think I have finished earlier.
Yeah, if anyone of you is having any doubt,
Hello?
you can ask. Yes, if anybody is having any doubt, you can ask. Sir is still there. So you can ask if somebody is having.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How can you apply this factor analysis and the cluster analysis, all these, in related to biostatistics?
Hello?
Hello? Yes, sir. Am I audible? Hello?
You can post your question in the chat box, so sir will answer.
Sir, can you tell me how can this cluster analysis and this one factor analysis can be applicable to biostatistics?
Hello? Any questions are there? Okay. What is the basic difference between linear discriminant analysis and the cluster analysis? Okay. So, if you see in the linear discriminant analysis, so generally what we do, there is a pre-assume, you know that this is a criteria. Okay, this is the criteria based on, or you can see the one equation, it will form one equation. So if that score comes above that or below that, okay, so in a linear discriminant analysis, we form one equation and we form one particular score for this. So suppose value is 2.5 and there is one new object came, okay, one new object came, or new species of particular insect or the particular animal is found out. Based on the different characteristics, we put into this linear discriminant score, and we get whether it is in this side or this side, whether it comes in that group or not. So that is the linear discriminant analysis. Whereas in cluster analysis, you don't assume any equation here. We are taking whole data set and dividing based on the distance. That is not in the case of linear discriminant analysis. How can cluster or factor analysis is applicable in the biostat? Okay, so you are telling biostat in the sense of the this genetical mapping, or you are having that type of data or some other data?
Yes, sir. So how can we match this?
Biostat in the sense, I am not getting biostat in the sense what?
Biostat means
Because biostat also consists of the plant breeding type of. Is Ramesh Batta?
I mean in medical statistics, in medical analysis, How can we
Okay,
apply
if you are using the particular biotechnology or bioinformatics type of subjects, there what we have the different genotypes or germplasm, you get the different types of, you can see the images, and that image will be coded into the binary form or the number form. Based on the width of particular band or something, you can have the scoring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 scoring, and this you can use as the count data, and you can use this factor analysis and cluster analysis.
Okay. So can we get any help in future from your side?
I don't know, but what is the parallel analysis? Actually, I am from the agriculture background, so we are not that much of going in the detail of this parallel analysis. I think it is a similar word. I think maybe okay, for factor analysis, I will tell when to go for PC and factor analysis. Now, suppose when we are considering the original variables, there are 20 or 30 variables are there, and I want only fewer combination. Some people are mistaken. We are not reducing the number of variables. We are not reducing the number of variables. We are reducing the dimension. We are reducing the dimension such that each components will have the uncorrelated nature. Okay, it is, if suppose I am using orthogonal, I am using uncorrelated nature, and that is what requirement for my further analysis. Or I don't want to see the correlated nature in the my plotting, or you can say the PC1 and PC2 plot. I don't want to see. Then I can go for PCA. While in factor analysis, the particular variable is because of these factors, 4 factors, 5 factors. Okay, and they form a group of one type of group, like we saw the testing quality environment. These are the groups are formed. Okay, so in that case, the factor analysis is useful. Okay, factor analysis is for the variables, PCA is for entire data. Okay, this is the one of the major difference you can understand.
Santosh, also one more thing, somebody asked about that parallel analysis. So it is also like a same
Any
statistical
other
method that.
questions are there?
Hello, Santosh, are you getting my voice?
Any other questions are there, please?
Hello, Santosh, are you getting my voice?
Okay, if there are no questions, madam.
Yes, so Pradeep sir is speaking something. You are able to hear him?
Yeah, Santosh, somebody asked about that parallel
I have
analysis.
shared my mail ID in the first lecture, first slide itself.
Yes, Pradeep sir, you are audible. No, you can continue whatever you
Yeah,
want to say.
yeah, somebody was asking about that parallel analysis. Actually, that is same method, that how many components we want to involve in our principal component analysis, or how many independent variables we want to keep in our factor analysis. So this is same method of parallel analysis. Just only want to add this point.
Sir, so we can reduce the number of components through parallel analysis.
Yeah. Before the analysis, also we can check how many required component is required. Then we can
Hello?
go for further analysis.
Pradeep sir?
Yeah. I am audible. Santosh, please tell me.
Okay, sir, that's what I want to know.
Okay, you can ask some
Actually,
other questions also, not only multivariate. You can ask some other questions.
yes, sir, sure.
If any question is there, so please check in chat box also if anything is there.
Hello, if you have doubt, you can ask by turning on your mic or you can put message. I think, hello?
Yes.
Hello, Puspika ma'am, can you hear?
Yes, yes, sir.
I think session is over, so and no question is there, so you can just
Okay, okay,
hang to
I'll
our
wind up.
chat.
Okay. Okay. Thank you once again to Dr. Santosh sir for answering these questions and for your great presentation. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And I request Dr. Rajiv, one of our co-organizing secretary, to share his views about the webinar. So, Dr. Rajiv, over to you.
Hello, anyone is there or shall I leave? Hello?
I think, sir, there is not any question right now. If they'll have, they'll mail you. Thank you, sir. You can be with us for 5 minutes, no, sir. Then we'll close it off. Okay, Dr. Rajiv, if you're there, then you can continue.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, ma'am. And thanks to so much all the resource person, that is Dr. Pradeep sir, Dr. Dr.
It's not
Ramesh sir.
audible. Raju Sate?
Yes, sir.
Raju
I'm
Sate?
audible now, sir.
It's not audible.
Sir,
I'm audible now, sir.
yeah, it's audible, Rajiv, sir. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sir. Santosh
Raju
sir.
Sate? It's not audible. What you're saying? You can put message.
Santosh, sir, it's audible. I think some network problem, I think you are having.
Santosh sir, I'm
Rajiv, sir,
audible.
yeah, you are audible too.
Okay, ma'am.
I think to others also he's audible, no? You can
Okay,
continue,
Yes,
sir.
yes, he is audible to everyone.
Okay, sir, continue.
okay. So now the our resource person, that is the Pradeep sir and Devnath sir also, and D. Ramesh sir also, and Santosh sir also, nice presentations in the 2 days national workshop on the SPSS and the introduction to statistical computing also. And it was the awesome and very huge person to contact to for the getting to some informations about this workshop, because the statistical, it is to a very basic, and it is to any field, that is not for agriculture. For the many of the person have to join with this workshop. This workshop is to be a in the 2 days, but the session is to a 2 hours, but the 2 hours is to a also minimum, because the many of the majorly we will getting some views to peoples also. They have to some new things, that is the competitions of the statistics and the designs of the many of the agricultural experiments also. So it was the excellent workshop for the all the 4 resource person, our Pradeep sir, and also D. Ramesh sir also, and Devna sir. And today's a nice presentation from the Santosh sir also. So it was a so awesome workshop. So I thankful to all the peoples, they have to join this workshop for the 2 days. So thank you so much to all dignitaries and participants for the nice workshop. And you have to some getting the knowledge. And also, if you have any queries, doubt and questions, so after that, the sir mail ID and also phone numbers sharing with you, and also we have shared to all the recorded videos to 2 days national seminars to you also. That's why if you have any queries or doubt or questions, so you please be contact to directly resource person or directly contact to us also. Okay. So it was very nice to all the peoples to participate in this, and patience for you. Thank you so much for the giving to opportunity for taking my views. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Pradeep sir.
Thank you, Rajiv, sir. And thank you to all the dignitaries, to all the speakers who have been with us for these 2 days webinar. It was nice being with all of you, and especially our participants. It was your time and patience that you provided us, and you made this webinar a success. So thank you all, and I hope you all have learned and enjoyed the presentations, and you have gained the knowledge, and it will be helpful and informative for you in future also. As your suggestions are always welcome, and you can call us, and contact numbers are always there. So thank you, and see you all in future, and thank you for making this webinar once again a success. Thank you all. So here I'm closing the webinar. So thank you all. Thank you so much from all of us, from all the co-organizing secretaries, and from my side also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And see you all in future. No? Thank you all.
Thank you.